So this gives us an opportunity, or at least gives me an opportunity to basically make the case for, hey, what happens when kind of AI can outperform human at virtually any intellectual task? And it's actually closer than you think. Hello, and welcome to Generation AI, where we demystify artificial intelligence, aka AI, in the world of higher education. We have a very special episode today, and join with me is my co-host and co-presenter, hopefully soon, JC Bonilla. Hey, JC.
Hey, Ardis. Guess where I am having this conversation from?
A very dark room.
It's 8 in the morning where I'm at, 2 hours behind. And because
I know.
You know, right? So because of Sunday is our Engage conference, I figured, why don't I just come to Costa Rica so I can fly north again? But that's not the reason why I'm here. I am in Costa Rica. It's my 30th year high school reunion this Saturday. So just kind of parachuting. I know, my friend. I'm here. No kids, no wife, just me, my parents. So there's this regression that is happening. There's this regression. Like, my parents think I'm 15 again, and I'm kind of taking it. And I'm going to a high school reunion, so I don't know what's going on, but I feel very 15-year-old kid.
Are you still sleeping in your childhood? Like, did your mom just leave your bedroom the way?
No, I wish. After I left home, I'm the youngest one. So my parents retired and they built this house with only one guest bedroom. So it's kind of the rotating one of whomever cousin or family member stays, because they live kind of in the mountains of Costa Rica. So it's more like the hotel vibe nowadays in this bedroom.
Oh man, you're gonna party this weekend, and then you're actually, so when this episode comes out, we're actually gonna be at Engage Summit. So we're gonna be together this coming week as well, or depending on when you hear this, the week of June 23rd.
Exactly. So, and it's part of the strategy for this episode. For those of you who are familiar with Element 451 and our listeners, you know that this June 24 to 26, 600 plus higher education leaders descend onto North Carolina for a 3-day intensive Engage. And today we want to come and talk about that. So shall we do that? We plan to do it in around 2 segments. Our first segment, we like to just have a conversation about the origin story of Engage. What does it do as a conference? I think it's a really important description of us AI leaders to translate. If we get to have a conference where our practice it's presented and the future forward, why do we choose to do it this way? The kind of speakers that we bring in, if anything, how it gets designed. And then because an Ardis and I are kind of so embedded into this programming, we're also doing sections and breakouts. And for the second segment, what I think will be fun is let's just go over. How many presentations are you doing, Ardis? 52?
36? I don't know.
Yes, Ardis has 4 presentations, and they're all over the place. AI, meaning from super tactical showcase.
Hey, they make sense in my head. They make sense. They're all kind of related.
Well, that's what I want to hear, how they're interrelated, my friend. And similar, I have some conversations, and we kind of break them out. So are we ready? Should we kick this off?
Let's do it. Yeah.
So to get started with this segment, let's just use AI to introduce what these 3 upcoming days are all about. Play it.
Oh my gosh, welcome to Engage Summit 2025. Wow, look at this room. I knew you'd all show up. So, you're here to see and actually shape the future of AI in higher education, right? I thought so. I can feel the genius vibes from here. Well, let me tell you, you are in exactly the right place. Get ready, because the next few days are going to be absolutely legendary. Let's get started.
Well, Ardis, much better than us saying it, right? And again, can you tell everybody a bit of what this voice AI, text-to-voice feature is? That's a really good play.
It's really good. This is the new 11 Labs version 3. text to speech, and you can insert inflections. It's very natural. You can kind of steer it, and you can make it flirty, confident, amazed, proud, excited, all these different things, which is very, very cool. So I just figured out I'd kind of play around with it just a little bit, and hopefully that just gives you a little peek. But let's dive into the rest of the agenda.
So yeah, Engage Summit, right? 600 plus leaders around the country. I don't know if we have international visitors will come in. We do so around the world, right? Our theme is build the AI workforce for higher education, more than 40 sessions. And we're really going for this AI curious to AI native or AI first mindset. And it's a really, really interesting showcase of all ranges. Ardis, as a CEO and leader, right, of our tribe, you get to do a conference, right? And many of us who are born in with the DNA of technology, we see Steve Jobs doing his magic and all this type of things. So when we often speak about these showcases that Frontier Labs do, and we recently spoke about the Microsoft one and the Apple one. So I want to kick it off with, what does this mean to you as the CEO and leader to have our users, our company, commingle, focus in 3 days? So what's happening in your head from, this is my company and I need to accomplish X, Y, Z in 3 days?
Yeah. So Engage Summit was originally conceived as an industry conference. So it wasn't specific to, meaning it wasn't specific to Element 451. That's why we gave it a different name, which you call Engage Summit. And then over the last few years, you see a lot of companies doing the very same thing. So you can say we're a little early. So it was conceived as a place or a summit where people can come and learn real world use cases and basically get things that are not the traditional conference talks, right? Get bleeding edge experts that are doing things, and they're coming in and they're explaining that being marketing, that being enrollment, that being software, that being user experience. If you remember 3 years ago, we had someone from VaynerMedia to give the keynote there. So we've had people from outside of higher education actually brought in so they can give their perspective on their respective areas, from consumer research to how people think to marketing to brand to like this year we're going to have some very, very interesting folks around AI. So the whole idea of the conference was not to be a user conference, but to be for people to come in that are not Element 451 users and to get kind of the bleeding edge and to mingle and understand what's happening in the world of higher education, technology, and of course, over the last 2 years, AI has been a big part of that. So I'm really, really proud of what we built. Really proud that, people can come in here and they walk away and say, wow, that's a fire hose of information. There is just so much in there, and we make everything both online and streaming. So if you're listening to this and you haven't been able to make it, highly recommend that you go to engage.element451.com and you register for the virtual event and you kind of join virtually for this. So as someone who's founded Element, like the whole idea is that we are not just a brand, or we're not just a technology platform, but we're much more than that. We're a platform for learning. We're a platform for idea sharing. We're a platform where people can come in and kind of be plugged into what's happening and best practices. That's another reason why we also bought and we kind of brought Enrollify podcast network as part of our family. So Enrollify, Engage, you see how that's been able to kind of propagate what essentially kind of how we feel content should be shared, more open, more relevant and more timely.
Yeah, I've never heard you connect Engage and Enrollify, and it's as part of the board and as part of your leadership team. It's beautiful. So I appreciate how you ended up. And back to Engage. Yes, that's why it's a 3-day conference. And the educators in us, right? Many of us have been shaped in academia. You are an educator. I'm an educator. And then all this kind of mixing and of bringing our community forward, but the industry, the category that we represent, it's where it's at. The 3 days are kind of broken up. The day 1 and day 2, very, as you mentioned, this is where the conference becomes not only for Element users, but anyone in the industry. And day 3 takes a deep dive in our customers only. I would say our day 1, the theme, it's more introduces agents and kind of the state of the art is that, not reset, but is this calibration of where things are at. So that day 2 tackles on the change management that it brings, because Ardis, it's a mind-blowing change management. And you have to be listening to our prior 80 episodes to really summarize what change management we're talking about here. But this is our attempt to come and tell you if you're going to go in this direction, if agentic is the play for you, focus on X, Y, Z, right? Attendees, presidents, CIOs, a lot of enrollment, marketing, and student success leaders, a lot of our admins and captains, right? And not only our customers, but as you mentioned, a nice representation of higher education adjacent leaders.
Yeah. So the name of the if you want to think about it, this year's theme of the conference, and it kind of flows nicely into the programming and kind of what we are able to do, is AI powered, people focused. So if you think about kind of where we are in this really interesting time in our history, and AI becoming a huge part of that, we wanted to provide a nod, and we wanted to kind of push AI powered. So everything that we're doing is AI powered now. Everything from kind of institutions to technology to student engagement to classroom technology, like everything that we're doing, and organizations are changing. But also, we wanted to emphasize the people focused part of it. It's like, how do we get our organizations, how do we get people to upskill them? What does it mean for change management? What, like, how do people think about in this brand new world of AI? Like, what are the skills that they need, and then come into engage as well and kind of get those skills as well. So day 1 focuses a lot on the AI powered portion of it. And then day 2, there's a lot of sessions. We have, I believe, 4 tracks, including the main track, the main keynote track, where there is, presentations from industry to product to AI to best practices and so on and so forth. So day 2 focuses on the people aspect of it as well.
Indeed. So as you mentioned, right, the design of Engage is for participants, and it will be in Charlotte. If you leave Charlotte without a campus-ready agent playbook, kind of we haven't done our job, and that's why it's designed that way. Artists, let's jump into the sessions, and I think it'll be fun and relevant for everybody to kind of hear some of the highlight sessions, because we have more than 40 sessions across 40 tracks. Why did we choose them, and kind of what is the strategy and the intent that we have for the audience, as the goal is to leave everyone with a kind of AI campus-ready playbook. So let's start with the keynote, right? And I'd like to turn this question to you. When we knew we needed to do the first keynote, which is a powerful one, we know there's 2 of them. There's the keynote that you are going to be doing. We're going to go there in a little bit. But you immediately jump to, I really need to bring in Cosmos, Dr. Kadiu from PSG, and I need him to download these things that he sees around the AI revolution and the shaping and reshaping of the work and society and higher education. So why did you go there, and why it was so easy for you to say, we need to start the day with that?
Yeah. So Cosmos is he's an amazing person. He's been a practitioner of AI. So he's an director of data science and AI at Shopify. He's been
my people.
He's been a leader, a technology leader in a lot of AI companies. He's been at Kayak. He's the VP of data analytics there. Worked at NASA, AI research at ZoomInfo. So he has a very, very deep expertise in AI, how the systems work, the evolution of AI, what that means, and how organizations have adopted. And now he works with a lot of different organizations and kind of companies to essentially bring in AI into both their products and also into their kind of operations internally. And he does a lot of that consulting. So we're very lucky to kind of have him as a keynote speaker, and he will talk a lot about agents and how agents are affecting and how they're going to be essentially kind of what they are and then how we see them as teammates. So that's a really, really interesting keynote that I feel will kick off our AI powered sessions as well. So he'll set the kind of the strategic context as agents shifting from tool to teammate.
Yeah, and I think what that allows us to do is attendees and you who are our listeners know that the world is agentic, and we're basically starting on minute one in our conference saying the world now is agentic and how it becomes tools and whatnot. Second thing, and actually just follows chronologically as we design the conference, you will jump in and you and the product team have the opportunity to do the product keynote. I think this is what, for the users that attend our conference in our company, we're so excited about. So before I go through, remember that a product keynote is where product strategy and roadmap is unveiled. So for the fans of a product, you get a little bit of a curtain peek in the wows, the disappointments, or the wows coming after that. So no pressure, pal. But we do this all the time here. It was disappointing. What they did is amazing. So Ardis, how are you feeling about that presentation? Because there's a lot of pressure. It follows the claim of everything is agentic. And what can you share with our community without kind of killing the moment of the revealing that it's ahead of us? So
yeah. I mean, we've been working in the open, so everything, we don't keep anything back. And what this keynote, basically, this keynote gives us a 60-minute or so time to preview how we're thinking about AI agents and the AI workforce and kind of the transformational shift of the platform from just a traditional or just a kind of these tools and CRM to like how we think about software and how it's helping institutions and agents becoming such an integral part of that. So the transformation, so we're going to talk a lot about that transformation. We're going to talk a lot about how we're thinking about it. And then, of course, there's going to be some peeks at a bunch of the new releases of our AI agents as part of the platform as well. So really excited about that part of it. And then we have other breakout sessions that we go into a lot of details around each one of those innovations that we're kind of releasing. So really highly recommend you take a look at it because there's just some really, really cool stuff. Of course, like I said, we're releasing a lot of that stuff as it's ready, but it's a chance to see it all together.
Yeah. I want to highlight two more sessions, and I'm wondering if there's some sessions that you like to highlight as a strategic themes, so for the audience. But the other session I want to highlight, and to the theme about the balance between AI, the technology, and the people, that is a theme, we've set up a panel of presidents, so it's called the President's POV, and we wanted leadership to reflect to how an AI-powered resilience emerges in these uncertain times. And I think it's really interesting because, as you and I know, and our listeners should know, AI, it's a front and center conversation in the strategic playbook of every president today, whether higher education or a government of a company, right? What are you doing with the AI and how are you going about it? So I think it's really important to start having from the top of the vision and the governance of the universities, how they're thinking about rolling out these playbooks, how they're thinking about the potential shifts that agents bring to the workplace, the transformation from campuses as we know them as AI-powered or digital campuses or the digital workforce as we know it, and how they go about it. So I'm really excited about that session, right? The second session I want to bring up, just to give folk the balance, right? There's going to be a lot of technical sessions. One of the sessions I want to hear is how do you use AI in crisis comms, right? This aspect of getting one of a CMO who is an expert in the field, starting thinking about crisis communications, about rapid deployment. And we know that with the deployment of LLMs for consistent messaging under pressure, some people actually may trust them or not. And it's a really fun conversation to see the balance between what people want to hear in the time that needs to be hearing under the pressure of crisis management. Which sections are you interested and excited to hear about that are not yours or mine, obviously?
There's a lot of them, obviously. I really appreciate a lot of the work and the sessions that, that outsiders come in and present. The folks we have a few folks from ASU, Arizona State University, kind of talking about the student experience and kind of how you think about that. Brian Piper is there. He's always a great hit with a lot of his work around, practical AI for analytics. Jamie Hunt is there with, she has a new book out, so she's going to be there kind of presenting on kind of that new CMO and marketing and how you think about that in higher education. So we do have a lot of really interesting sessions. The one that you mentioned before, the president's POV, that's the keynote on day 2, which is Marjorie, and she's the president of CIC. And she has a really, really tough set of schools that she works with. Obviously, CIC stands for Council for Independent Colleges, and those are the colleges that are getting the hit the most right now as their tuition dependent and enrollment kind of numbers going down. So how do those institutions use AI to kind of move through resilience and kind of overcome what's happening with cost cuts and providing better experiences and so on and so forth. So that's an interesting one that I'm really, really looking forward to. But like I said, there's just so many really good sessions that, and they're all going to be available for streaming. So they're going to be streamed live. So if you get a chance, you should kind of tune in and register.
When this drops on Tuesday, make sure that you immediately go put a pause and find that live stream link, and we could also probably link it here in our show notes. So yes, as you mentioned, incredible sessions. I just leave us with a conversation about how AI is reshaping work. Start thinking about the idea of how do you integrate AI with purpose. Incredible sessions on Gen Zs and kind of what's happening as AI and their work commingles. We're going to have technology ecosystem conversations like integrating Zapiers and AIs. Just incredible representation. So to conclude on this section, we're looking at a Engage conference that it's agentic AI in action and is an end-to-end journey, right? So I think it's really, really exciting that participants, whether you're virtual or on-site, you'll come in with how do you go from vision strategy and the handoff to build around it, and a lot of peer proofing of lessons learned and how to do it best. So to summarize, AI-powered, people-focused, and unifying all the themes there. Why don't we switch to our sections? I think you have 4 presentations, Ardis. Is that 4 or 5? I counted, and is it 5 or 4?
Wherever I'm needed, JC, I'll just swoop in. So if you need,
well, Ardis is also serving coffee in the morning. All right,
that's right.
it's a super intensive day. In that, I have you with a keynote, a section on vibe coding. You're doing a repeat of our podcast episode show about 3 weeks ago on AGI. You've selected a subset of, let's say, AI tools, and you're doing a whole thing on research, a deep research that I think is fascinating. So can we just go through your sections? And what I'd like to do is just ask you the questions of what are you thinking, and in a way, why is this relevant today? Because there's so many things we can come and talk about. We kind of heard from your keynote. We chose to do vibe coding, and I think it's a really important strategic selection of content, because this is not an engineering type of user conference. It's an industry conference around practitioners of AI. And vibe coding, how to build apps, it's one of the things that you, as kind of our big chief, decides to do. Why? And why should I care? Walk me through that mindset, right?
So vibe coding lets you create kind of this functional apps or any type of software right now using natural language and the prompts. And that's basically what we've been talking about for a long time. So it's kind of the evolution of prompt engineering to now vibe coding. But you can actually get done a lot more with kind of vibe coding. And I thought that it's kind of blown up over the past few months. And there's a lot of platforms that allow you to do this much more sophisticated outputs and apps, and it wouldn't really be an AI skills platform or conference without kind of vibe coding. So we move from prompt engineering now to vibe coding, and that's kind of the progression there. So you quickly kind of get to do prototypes and ideas and automate routines and all of those things. So really excited about that one as I do more and more vibe coding myself, and as I bring things to life. Like, this is something that I feel everybody should be learning how to do. If anything, I'll point you to a whole bunch of really cool resources and applications that I use, and I'll tell you how I do it, and then you can take whatever you want out of it for sure.
In Ardis, not only you're doing the showcase of how to do it, right? But I think there is an intentionality here, and I'm now kind of leading the witness. So follow my lead, my friend. You push us as leaders to be builders, and one of the things that I know you had a distinctive trademark in your leadership style is that you build things. Vibe coding and AI has removed the friction of I can build things because I'm technical. Now that friction is being removed. So there's a world where all of us build apps, and in a way, vibe coding, it's a great enabler towards that. Am I right on that other subliminal message here?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So it's like everybody becomes a builder, just like AI opened up the idea, or ChatGPT with prompt engineering was this notion that you can now bring together and put together this very sophisticated outputs and reports and research. Now with vibe coding, you can come and you can put together, and anybody can kind of put together prototypes and applications and so on and so forth. So everybody becomes a builder now, where the artifact is no longer just a piece of text, but it's actually working prototypes and working apps.
Love that. Keeping on the technical kind of information saturation, how Ardis does it theme. Out of all the tools we could have selected, right, and showcase from voice and things of that sort, you actually help us select something that is very core to your style and is around deep research, right? And I think your intention is to go across not only one tool from Notebook, but also bring ChatGPT and things of that sort. So why deep research?
Yeah, deep research is a really interesting first. It's basically the first agent that all of these platforms have built. Because at the bottom of it and underneath, deep research is a set of agents that are going out. They're scraping the different web sources. They're analyzing that data, and they're analyzing that text. They're summarizing, and then they're going out and getting more, and they're reasoning through it. So deep research is not. It's kind of the first agentic or first agents that we are seeing right now that are really, really, really useful. So these are reports that traditionally would have taken weeks or even months to put together based on that research. So somebody could come in, a research company or a consultant or somebody like that would do that and then put together these reports. And then based on those findings, you would go ahead and you put some strategy together. However, what's happening today is that almost always I start any of my work to understand what's happening in the world with these reports.
All right. For the last section, and this is where, if the other two have been very tactical, technical focus, now you're taking let's see the world of AI from like 1,000 feet above the earth, and you went to AGI, right? The next frontier, what happens next? So you want to leave the attendees with a vision of your vision of how AGI gets deployed and how specifically gets translated to higher education. So what's happening on this AGI conversation, which, by the way, it's going to be high level, and it's way different to the other tactical vibe coding or deep research type of conversation, right?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I feel that for those of us who are working in industry and working with AI and working with the capabilities, we see how fast everything is moving and what the capabilities are bringing. And we're looking just right around the corner and saying, holy shit, this thing is going to make a huge impact. But for those who are outside, like that circle, they are not necessarily thinking that way. So this gives us an opportunity, or at least gives me an opportunity to basically make the case for, hey, what happens when kind of AI can outperform human at virtually any intellectual task. And it's actually closer than you think. And here is the reasons why, and here's what the experts are saying. And here is that, intelligence that's coming in. And what does it mean for knowledge work, creativity, human purpose? So we're going to kind of tackle a couple of those questions, but through, the lens of higher education, right? So we're going to think about what are the role, or what's the future role of colleges and universities? How can this advanced AI how does it reshape knowledge work? We talked a little bit about this, or we talked a lot about this during our, a couple episodes ago, but this gives me an opportunity to kind of throw out a lot of those ideas to the audience and have some really interesting discussions on what that means.
Lovely. Ardis, one last question, and this is actually not adjacent to a specific talk track breakout, but kind of your talk track throughout. How are you showing up, my friend, as it relates to AI is here to take your job? I think I've seen an evolution in our shows here that we started maybe a dozen, and for the past 2-3 episodes, we've been like, AI is here to replace human capital, right? Let's prepare it. So in conference, how are you showing up? Your voice is probably the one where the megaphone is the loudest, right? So what is the talking track as it relates to AI replaces higher education professionals?
So it's evolved, right? And I was actually at a conference, at EduVentures conference, on a panel this past week as well. And a lot of those questions on AI and enrollment and how we think about higher education and what AI is going to be able to do. And essentially, the question was asked, what does it mean for the next 5 years? Like, where do you see that? And it's like, wait a minute. Like, you can't really forecast that far ahead. Like, we're literally thinking in like 6 months to a year here. So in 2025, 2026, AI in higher education is going to be more of an enabler, right? It's going to unlock a lot of these agents. It's going to unlock a lot of possibilities. Yes, higher education is slow at adopting these different tools and how they bring them in with the procurement process and everything, but the impact is going to be tremendous, right? And then when you think about as you move even further out, then that's TBD. So that's the TBD world there. But I would say the near term is going to be a huge booster of productivity. It's going to be an unlock of a lot of value. And it's going to drastically improve kind of the student experience, as part of that as well.
Fascinating. Well, definitely exciting talking track, and love to see how it gets interconnected.
So what are you presenting? What parts of where are you?
Thank you for asking me. I will be showing up in 3 sites of our conference, and then you and I, there's a 4th one. That's why I was saying, are you in 4 and 5? So if I'm not counting my 4th one, I'm not counting your 5th one. We get to close together with one of our favorite presidents from our community, the president from Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College. So specifically on my talking tracks, I raised my hand to say, we need to do a market research calibration, right? So if Ardis and the leadership and keynotes are, in a way, POVs, right, of leaders, what does the trends that shape higher education kind of come and tell us? So we team up with Tambolini Market Research. So I'm going to be leading this conversation with one of our lead researchers. And it's a really interesting conversation, Ardis. What is going to happen here is this kind of market headwinds and tailwinds, it gets explored. Just a little showcase. The research showcases that there's an equity gap that starts to augment of the AI enablers, AI ready versus the ones that are not. And a word that has been picked up that I think it means a lot to you and I, because we are on the different side of this coin, but the change management fatigue that a lot of the leaders are feeling because they're not catching up. And some of them are just going through the transition of ERP kind of cloud modernization. Remember, someone recently just told us, so funny that you guys mentioned that there's some on-prem servers still hanging around in higher education. And now we're just talking about a new paradigm shift. So that's a really interesting conversation. The force multiplier of the digital workforce being here as a tailwind, it's so interesting. And the whole reframing of how we manage a fleet of agents, it's present in this conversation. And I think it's a really interesting debrief for everybody of how the research or the kind of the voice of the community it's kind of feeling about it. Then the part that I'm going to be very interested to handle in this conversation is how the student experience is being shaped by AI. We have discussed that here, from the homework Armageddon to the quote-unquote everyone cheats mindset. But, that is basically touching campuses and that what everyone spoke, and Tambolini brings this thinking of the human touch 2.0. We're so proud in higher education that the human touch is what makes a difference. So what does that human touch 2.0 look like through the lens of observations and the research? How does that feel? Like, would you attend that conference section? Will you give me an applaud at the end? I don't know.
Not meaty enough. No, that's a great one. I always love when there is the market research angle of it, because a lot of folks just don't get, they get those reports, but sometimes they just don't understand what they mean. And sometimes the data is not presented. So one of the highest kind of listenerships we get in our podcast, and when we try to uncover these reports that are coming through industry, and it's always really, really interesting to kind of see that. So I'm really looking forward to that presentation for sure.
And the part that is unlocked on this one, Ardis, is the research showcases that 80% of the institutions that they've surveyed are quote unquote resource strapped, and literally they are looking at AI as the unlock. And but they just don't know
away
how.
The punchline right now, so it's you don't do that.
Well, actually, there's more. So
all right. Fine, I'll come.
Switching to the other talking track. This is my cousin or your analogous to AGI, right? If I could do something higher level that it's in a way 10,000 feet from AI Earth practice, it's a maturity models, right? So I'm teaming up with Doc Smith, our head of a director of AI Ops, to have a conversation about what is the maturity model for AI that governs higher education. And this is just basically, we're putting one flag on this is how Elements is, knowing that probably is going to evolve 6 months from now, because we know the speed in which this is taking place. The part that I think is important, Ardis, we know that there's a journey for our partners. I truly believe that Element is the biggest accelerator in that journey for our partners. But if you're not with Element, how else do you do it, right? And in a way, we start with a world that looks like today, and we leave our listeners on how do we think about going through the different steps of an AI first mindset and maturity, right? So it's a good conversation.
We love our frameworks. Yeah, we love our frameworks. We need things to be packaged up in kind of how to think about it, because a lot of folks that are not necessarily part of these conversations, they need to understand the packaging on and how it applies to them for sure. So
now the part that I would say similar to yours is how you try to then make it applicable is we'll have a framework, but you and I are very aligned in how we see higher education. In a way, we put teaching and learning in a bucket that is very important, but you and I don't go there. So we're going to be applying this framework to the student success life cycle and what I call the service engine, operations and service. So think about from, admissions, financial aid, the registrar's office, residence life, all these different units that power the in-class experience, but are in a different side, aka the admin, and how does that apply? So it's going to be a fun conversation, and I hope that we give folk either a North Star of how attainable it is or how far they are from that North Star.
Yeah.
And then, we're always interested in the quick tidbits. So we're hosting these kind of lightning talks, 10 minutes. Yeah. Download as much as possible. I'm going to be doing one on advanced ChatGPT features. It just keeps on evolving, and I think that productivity and the rate of it works for me from prompt to whatever use case I'm trying to solve as a function of how your context, your tokens, your organization and workflows in a way are instrumented through their features. And we're going to be doing 10 minutes on that one. So that's my repertoire for next week.
I love it, man. So we're going to be really busy. So I'm hoping that folks can tune in and join us. For those of you who are going to be there in person, can't wait to see you. For those of you who are joining us virtually, go to engage.element451.com and register for free to get access to all the live streaming that's going to be happening. And even if you don't make those different sessions, we're going to send those out as recorded sessions. So register anyway, so you can get the recordings very soon after. So I think again, really looking forward to this. It's probably one of the most advanced conferences in higher education on AI, both practical sessions and also sessions that have use cases and so on and so forth. So something for everybody in this session. JC, looking forward, my friend. This is going to be great.
Likewise.
So don't party too much this weekend on your high school reunion. All right.
Of course not. I'm just gonna come and see how who got fat and who's lost hair like me. So that kind of thing.
It's like an older group anyway, right? It's like,
everybody's like 47 plus. All right, I'll see you soon, everybody. Have the best week and tune in all things AI with us and Engage. Ardis, always a pleasure.
All right, till next time, everybody. Generation AI is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you're going to like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing weekly, and we've got a wide range of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform that's helping institutions all over the country create meaningful, personalized, and engaging connections with their prospects and students. Learn more at element451.com.